Hi, my name's Steve Leonard from Geeks on Tap, and we're a Google partner for education. And today we're going to talk about some new things that Google have done to help us with the education environment in the past 12 months. Okay, we'll go to the slides here. And what we've seen is witnessed an educational disruption at a scale, and it needs a coordinated, innovative action to unlock solutions to support learners and teachers, and a recovery process into the longer term with principal focus on inclusion and equity. That was Audrey from UNESCO, and I think it sort of sums it up. It's that we've got a challenge on our hands. We've got a lot of challenges on our hands. And while we are grappling with that, we need the right tools for the right jobs. So what's happening with each one of us in the education space? Well, we've got students, how best to learn in a home environment, how to engage with teachers and classmates remotely, teachers course materials in new ways, effectively manage engaging the classroom, preparing for the return to classroom and managing a hybrid learning model. That's really something I want you to hold on to for the moment, is the hybrid learning model, because that's the new normal. School leaders, how they communicate with parents and guardians, determining how best to deploy devices and technologies that cater for distance learning, and parents and guardians quickly preparing to become teachers themselves and understanding how best to work with school and distance learning procedures. I've had this experience myself, having some school-age kids, and it's not easy. It's trying to engage with the school. I mean, the teachers have been stressed out. The schools had to jam things in place really quickly, and it's pretty scrappy, but we're getting there. Education organisations are facing big challenges: low student engagement, data security threats, plagiarism, and disparate education tool. 75% of teachers said their students are not engaging compared to the classroom. It's really hard to get them involved. 24.5 million documents have been lost through data breaches because twice as many cyber attacks are occurring. So the hackers are having a field day. 58% of students are finding they're plagiarising their material. That's in the USA, but I think it might be similar here as well. We get a lot of plagiarisation. Finally, out of all of this, teachers and administrators are dealing with 1,327, on average, different applications that are in the school environment. That is too many things to try and sort in this day and age. So how do we solve these problems? Right, now, Google have got a different approach to maybe other educational technologies. You're going to get peppered with this technology, that technology, that technology. What Google's trying to do is saying, look, yes, you need technologies, but fewer. And they're integrating more and more features into Google Workspace for Education, so it's simple to manage and simple to roll out and secure. So how do they do this? Provide every student and teacher with a personalised learning environment through Chromebooks. Design and deliver different engaging learning experiences through Google Classroom here. And finally, providing an ecosystem that is of approved applications, so you don't have to sort through the many, many, many different options. So why Google Workspace for Education? At Google, they believe in a great learning experience. They're very experienced in schools. They've got a very high penetration in both Europe and America, and increasing penetration in this part of the world. They want to transform teaching and learning so that every student can realise their potential. That's why there's 150 million users of Google Classroom, 40 million users of Chromebook, 170 million Google Workspace for Education users, or G Suite for Education. And the Chromebooks are now the top selling device, US, Canada, Netherlands, Sweden, Spain and New Zealand. And now globally, Chrome operating system is now the second most used operating system. It's gone past Apple's OS X. So bringing you more choices that Google thinks important is bringing you more choice. So not one, but 4 Workspace for Education editions. This means that some of the things that Google have provided to the business environment, to the government environment, are now available to education users through paid plans. We'll get to that in a minute. 40 new type of Chromebook devices which have varying form factors, varying types of applications, portability, battery life, more variety and choice, because being the second most used operating system in the world, all the manufacturers are now really getting on board and giving you more and more choices with the Chrome devices. And then 500 policies in the admin consoles. When you get to more sophisticated tools, they've given you far more ability to deal with some of these threats and far more ability to deal with compliance and things you need to do to protect students learning online and to make parents happy that their kids are safe. So what's new? It's evolved from G Suite Education and brings enterprise tools to help your institution collaborate, streamline instruction and keep the learning environment safe. So it replaces many individual systems both horizontally and vertically, eliminating silos, and is highly interoperable. Google always starts their software development of how it can work with other things, be compatible, be standards-based. That's very different to a way other programmers work in other companies, which is like, let's keep everything in our brand's ecosystem. But Google's very open. They'll collaborate with Microsoft, collaborate with Apple, these sort of things. So that's built into the culture of how Google does stuff, and that's to your benefit. So solutions that elevate education, educators, students and families connect and learn remotely. So Workspace is designed to be simple. One sign-on gets you into everything, not multiple windows here and here, signing on to here, parent lounge, this lounge or that lounge, whatever. Helpful, easy to use and tools designed for collaboration. Lots of information online also on how to use these tools, because it's a very big ecosystem globally. There's a lot of forums and information how to use them. And flexible. So lots of upgrade options, and only pay for what you need if you're going to go with the advanced versions, rather than being forced into one size fits all. So that's where we start. At the moment, if you're on using G Suite for Education, nothing's changed. Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals is probably what you might be on or using now. But now available, you can upgrade to Education Standard, Learning Upgrade, and Education Plus. Education Plus is with all the very, very advanced enterprise features and would apply if, say, your school had multiple campuses and lots of students. You know, with one school we're doing, one organisation has 50,000 students, 50 schools, for example. They're on this system because it makes sense to be on that system. If you're a single school with one campus, maybe not. But there's the choice there now. Let's talk about Google Classroom, which is at the centre of Google Workspace for Education. Classroom provides the teacher, the student, the parent with a single place to go on a particular subject. So everything coalesces around that subject. Everything is relevant to that subject. So the student stays in that one pane of glass, in that one session, to get everything they need for that subject. That's very different to the way other systems operate. And the students love it, the teachers love it. So what are the key benefits? Engaging, interactive and impactful learning experiences, because it has a lot of tools you can stretch to, like a video, like the content can be PDFs through to videos, through to slides. Everything can be put into that learning environment. They've got classwork pages that organise in assignments and modules, so you can have a structured content and guided content within the classroom environment. And then on top of that, there's now an originality system that you can insert in there. So if you might be paying for an originality system now, which is fine, but this one's baked into Google, which actually makes it very seamless, and you can instantly see what's going on with plagiarism. And finally, we've got interoperability now with Google Classroom. So the LTI standard, the Learning Tools Interoperability Standard, we think is very important, and you should be evaluating everything based on what systems can talk to each other rather than what they just offer by themselves. So by the numbers, 150 million students and educators so far by April 2020, and going up rapidly from there. It's probably moved on to closer to 200 million by today's webinar. Okay, drilling down into classrooms, there's a new module called Assignments. This is really important for you to grasp what's going on here, because instead of using a learning management system, you can now push content into the much smoother and richer environment of Google Classroom rather than living in your learning management system. So an LMS that supports learning tools interoperability will be able to bring content in and out of the stream in Google Classroom. So that means originally reports come through and rubrics can be created and reused for assignments across modules across years and so on and so forth. So it means it makes it a lot more efficient for you as educators to actually create a curriculum, then drill down to the courses, and then the teacher can take the courses and translate that into the classroom. But it's an online classroom or a hybrid of online classroom that can be done inside the Google system. So a lot of the learning management tools, for example, that work with classrooms are Moodle and Brightspace and Blackboard and BenchPrep. The list is quite large. So if you need to investigate that list, please contact us. Next is the comment bank is also another new feature where if teachers have a common thing like needs to be more focused, easily distracted, all those sort of comments, there is a comment bank they can drag and drop just to make feedback faster and more easy, more elegant. Google Meet, this is the video conferencing system which has undertaken a lot of big changes in the last 12 months in response to COVID-19 and remote learning. A lot of plans for the development of this platform have moved forward because Google has recognised that they've got a fantastic security platform, but they needed to bring their video conferencing system up to standard and now forward of their competitors. So the Google Meet system can, instead of jumping out to another system to do your video conference, you do your video conference within the classroom itself. So there are new features to enhance that experience. It's in-app, and you can also put the Meet experience inside a document and inside a spreadsheet even. So the kids aren't jumping out and going to another system, then getting distracted by other chats in another system or social media. You can keep them focused in the document you're in or in the classroom you're in. So you can do things like attendance tracking, QA, polling and more. There's breakout rooms. There's students can't rejoin meetings after you finish the class, which was one of the weaknesses that Google fixed. Mute other participants if they're, for example, the dog's barking in one of the students' houses, so you can just go and mute the dog, right? Approve requests to people outside, so parents can jump in and have a look. If you have some sort of Q&A session with parents, they can join in from outside. So it's connecting 230 companies and territories, and of course, it's multilingual. Over 60 languages are included in the Google ecosystem. That's why it's very popular in Asia. So managed Chromebooks. Now, this is, we talked about the classroom, but then the device you deliver on can be any device really that can run Chrome browser, can run Google Classroom. However, that device may have problems at the time. It may be running slow. The video conference might be like jerky or whatever. It might be downloading or updating in the background. All of those things can get in the way of the experience of both the student and the educator. So what Google are doing is providing you with an end-to-end, right from the time you create the content to the experience of the content needs a really good device. And the Chromebook and the Chromebox and the Chromebase are all devices that are one simple operating system custom built to do online, right? And that makes it much easier for IT people because they've probably got grey hair now dealing with COVID-19. So it's better to be nice to your IT people by saying, what are Chromebooks? So what they are is a system you can remotely set up straight from the panel, right? In other words, you don't have to bring that device into an IT guy and say, can you set this up for me? You just have to get it and log in and it sets itself up because all the settings are in the cloud and they get exported into your device as you turn it on. You can do locked mode. So we're doing NAPLAN. You can lock the device down to just NAPLAN, right? So there's 8 years of automatic updates on the device. So from the device when it's released, you get 8 years of updates, not 6, not 4, not 2. Sometimes that happens. You buy a device and it seems it's out of date before you know it. So tailored experiences can be done on these devices as well. So you can have some screens you can push the applications down to the device that just what they need, not all the distractions. So you can always match the device to your needs. There are 40 million students and educators using Chromebooks as of January 2020. That's probably gone up to more like 50 million now. Right, what does simple look like? Let's talk about some actual things. Systems do the work and not people. That's the principle of a Chromebook. So, hey, can you log into here and download this application? That's not how Google approaches it. You just log in and everything's there for you because the systems are doing work. It's low friction, low cost, highly secure. There's a thing called a total protection module, which if a hacker does manage to get in, which is very difficult, to a Chromebook, as soon as you reboot that machine, all the hacker's work is gone again. So it's a very poor target for a hacker. And you can centrally manage a fleet of devices. For example, recently a school had NAPLAN, had 200 students, and they flipped them just within minutes into NAPLAN mode, just locked them to Year 7 NAPLAN, and off they went. And then after they finished the NAPLANs, 10 minutes later, they were back to normal. It's simple as that. There's a lot of more complexity if you're doing it with other platforms. Right, so some other examples of how schools have applied Google Workspace for Education and Chrome devices is Chris from PLC Sydney. They had an issue where they had files on servers. So to be secure, they said, well, we can't let people in the service from the internet, so we put a virtual private network in place. That meant the students had to deal with VPN clients on their Windows machines. That means that it was very difficult to guarantee security of documents in those file servers. And they had hundreds and hundreds of Active Directory policies. Trying to manage and juggle all of that was extremely complicated, extremely difficult for them. So Chris took them to Google and ported everything from file servers into Google Drive. And all of a sudden, that became much simpler and much more secure because it's a case of security by default in a Chromebook. Open the Chromebook. No one else can get in. It's encrypted through to Google Drive. And they only got the content they needed. It was very easy for them to transform into that situation. With Louise at Southern Cross Catholic College, they had a good technology team, but only a certain amount of teachers who were tech savvy could really get the full advantage. The other teachers who weren't that tech savvy were disadvantaged. So they decided to try Chromebooks and Google Workspace for Education. And what happened was actually quite enabling because the teachers that weren't that tech savvy found the Chromebooks very easy to use. And all of a sudden they became digital citizens. They democratized all these great tools to people that weren't that tech savvy. So in other words, the distance between someone who doesn't know technology very well and to be able to use these tools is much, much smaller with a combination of Chrome and Google Workspace than any other technology available. So finally, how do you get this technology into people's hands? Well, you can buy Chromebooks reasonably cheaply. They start at about $500 for education. But even some parents and teachers might find that difficult to manage that if they've got, say, 3, 4, 5 kids. That's a lot of money. And of course, it's a lot more money if they're talking about Windows or particularly Apple. So what we have, Google's just bought this company called Neverware, and they've got a system where you can convert an old laptop or an old Mac into a Chromebook. So that means you can start the school into recycling older machines and then offer parents availability of these machines at very low cost, sub $200 to get into this. So that's another thing we can help you with. And your technology may be retro, but you might be still be able to use those old devices. Right. So digital transformation isn't easy. It's about not just the technology, it's also about a cultural transformation from your IT team to your teachers, to your administrators to embrace those things. We're very experienced at delivering those things and helping schools with those things and educators with those things. So what Google are putting on the table is they're saying, look, while Google Workspace can work with any device, that's best with Chrome. They're good to work with Apple, it's good to work with a PC, but the good's the enemy of the best. And so they're offering a 60-day loan of 30 Chromebooks in a bin for a classroom. And they're also offering Neverware pilots, free Neverware license with Chrome devices. So it means that, if you've got some old computers, so either try it as a brand new, like a new Chromebook in a classroom, or let's convert a whole bunch of old machines and put them in a bin and try them in a classroom. So what we're saying is maybe you're not convinced, but let's try it. What's wrong with giving it a try? So next steps from here. If you've got questions, register for our workshops, which are coming up. We'll have them emailed to you straight after this webinar. Thank you for listening today. My name's Steve from Geeks on Tap, and have an awesome day yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.